pharmaceutical industry is absolutely based on trust. I think that the most important part of the company are people that work there. First of all, you need to trust yourself. Then the people that are with you, they need to trust the system. Then they will be your ambassador of the outside. You can maybe buy the most expensive machine, but if there is no operator to manage it and to work with it, the value is zero.
You're building entirely new industry here. Labor market doesn't have the experience in pharmaceutical business. How do you build a world-class team in a completely new industry here in Kosovo?
We tried to find something in the ground, but there was zero, so
Right.
Unfortunately. So what we were looking after this result, it was looking for ambition people who are eager to learn.
Yep.
And who can stand in this industry, because industry is very specific.
Yep.
You like it or you don't like it. So if there are people, for example, from 10 people, there are 3 or 4 that they stand with us and they are still here. So most of the people here, they have started as a internship.
Right.
Then they grow with us. If you see management team, 70% of the management team are from the internship that they started from the faculty. From the faculty they came as an internship.
Yep.
Then they grow with us.
So they started as interns, and now they're the executives of the company. Did you, to what extent were you having to train them in the pharmaceutical industry in order to get the experience that they were going to have, right? I mean, because you've got 100 and something people here, I think, in the building, right? A lot of that is manufacturing. I assume you had to train those interns in that industry itself, right?
Yeah, we started with a big number of international people. No, it started from the outsider. They came in the beginning with a big number. As I remember, 26 maybe. And slowly we were replacing them. For example, we engaged in a pharmacist to be as a helper of an operator from abroad, and she was starting and learning.
Yep.
And joining to that. So and replacing, after 2-3 years in the beginning, I remember that we were. If you see the company was only 2-3 people from abroad.
Yeah.
And which we still have. For example, operation director is still from abroad, and technical director is still from abroad. So, but most of the people here, they started and they grown during that by doing things, not by just listening and learning, but by doing things.
Yep.
They were good in faculty. They were good, on the education. And they were easy to grow and easy to be trained for the operations.
So I mean, but then in that initial team, you had to actually bring them. Where did you bring them in from? Like, what country were you recruiting them in from other countries to start this with you?
No, the company has started with a support from a company from US.
Okay.
There was a small company from Houston, from California.
Okay.
And actually the idea came from here, but they were engaged in the beginning.
Yep.
And supporting us with know-how, with formulations, with training of the people. And when they came and started the first interview, they said that, oh guys, here we need first an academy, then industry.
Right.
So it was the beginning.
Yeah.
So then we asked them for help. So they were having a lot of links worldwide.
Yep.
So they asked all their partners if they can support us with some stuff. So then we took some stuff from other partners worldwide.
Yeah.
It's mostly, of course, generics are a lot in East.
Right.
Like, for example, India, Nepal, Mexico, US, UK, for example, 2 directors, main people that we have now, they are from UK.
Yep.
One ex-GSK, Roche, both having a lot of experience. It's still supporting us, but also doing things with us, you know.
Yeah. Yep. So having that mix of local people that you're training and getting experience from the internship level up, and that mix of also international experience talent to almost like mentor them or teach them as they develop. I mean, that's been that kind of combination to really develop the workforce here.
You know, the people are very dynamic, and they learn very fast, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes we make jealous the internationals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they catch things very fast, you know. So, and I'm seeing that young people that started, there was, you know, ambition, then eager to learn and to absorb the education and the knowledge, and it was growing very fast, and not staying on the box, but exploring also through the internet, through the other sources of educations.
Yep.
And then catch things very fast, you know, including me. Including me, I was not absolutely from the field, you know.
Right, you had no experience in pharmaceuticals really before, right?
Absolutely zero, you know.
What was your previous business?
I was in real estate construction.
Okay. I mean, nothing prepares you for pharmaceutical like real estate construction, right?
Nothing, you know. It was an idea because we as a family, we wanted to go to the industry.
Right.
We wanted actually to enter to some extent, and an idea came to pharma industry, and maybe thanks God that we didn't have an experience on pharma. Otherwise, maybe we didn't.
Thankfully, nobody told you.
Absolutely.
That's right. So when you and I talked originally, you talked about the importance of building a culture of trust. Can you talk more about that and what role that building that culture has meant for the growth of Tripharm?
You know, there are many industries, but I'm 100% sure that the pharmaceutical industry is absolutely based on trust.
Yep.
You just imagine that one day your child is having a fever, and you go to pharmacy and they say that, do you want a syrup, paracetamol,
right,
Dolofix, our product? So do you want a local one or German one or US one,
right,
made? So of course everybody will go to German or because there is a child life on the hand. So the pharma and healthcare is absolutely based on 100% trust.
Yep.
So that's the biggest challenge, and that was the longest journey.
Yeah.
Create, you know, starting from the local, you know, even the biggest issue we had was the Kosovo to start with, you know, because of course, if you are the first one, everybody, you know, is not trusting that who is this guy, what he's doing, maybe he's doing good, maybe he's doing wrong, you know. It's building that trust takes a lot of time. But what keeps you what makes the trust, including from the inside, going to outside, you know. First of all, you need to trust yourself. Then the people that are with you, they need to trust the system. They need to trust the quality control system. The quality management system. The whole system. Then they will be your ambassador of the outside. You know, they will tell their friends, they will tell their family, they will start using it. Then it will grow slowly.
So that's interesting. The way that you were thinking, the way that you were building trust externally was by starting with the trust inside here. Like your employees, you were really relying on your employees to trust what you were making enough to then become your customers, and then let it grow from there. Is that the right way of saying it?
Even one layer before. Okay. I need to trust it.
You've got to be willing to be a customer.
Yeah, I need to start using my products, including my children, start to using and also my parents and my family.
Yeah.
Start using our products. And employees will see that. That you are, you know, you are trusting the products and you are starting to use. After you will start the employees, and after the employees will start the whole country or all the clients, and also. So this is that sometimes we are saying that clients are the most important. Before clients, I say that employees are the most important part of every company, you know, because they need to be trust in the system, and they need to be trusting the product that they are making.
Right.
So this is a beginning.
So, you know, I mean, that's a really profound way of looking at it, because I think that applies to any industry to a certain extent, but especially an industry like this, you know, or you could think of other ones that are non-healthcare related, like airlines and things like that, where that if you don't have the trust of your employees, you don't have a company. It's not even about employee performance. It's about employee willingness to be a consumer of what you're doing, right? And you know, I think it's a really interesting way of looking at it. I think applies to a lot of different businesses where that building that culture of trust is so incredibly important.
And so long.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot of patience, and it's a long journey.
Yep.
You know, it's in every company. I think that the most important part of the company are people that work there.
Right.
You can maybe buy the most expensive machine, but if there is no operator to manage it and to work with it, the value is zero.
Yep.
So you need to create people and to make them part of the company.
Yeah.
Because if somebody not coming behind you, but coming with you, you know. So
Yeah.
this is that these all people need to feel company as themselves, you know. So that if you feel the company as your home and start building everything from the scratch and start seeing yourself as a part of the company, you absolutely are trusting on the company and seeing the vision before in front of you and building together with the company.
Yep. So when you started this, obviously, I mean, you were building something. Not only were you building a new business, you were building an entirely new industry in a nation that hadn't had that before. What are the other challenges that, I mean, I'm sure there were many, but what were the other challenges, you know, that really stand out to you now, saying, you know, I didn't know if we're going to be able to get over these things. What are the other challenges that really?
You know, Kosovo in that time was very young country, still young country, you know.
Yeah.
And if you lack the expertise, you lack also in policies, you know, because
Right.
you have to have expertise to make it policies, you know. So
Right.
the second after the expertise, we challenge the policies of the country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we asked for the license, it was 2 pages of A4 standards of Kosovo for making drugs, you know. So
Right.
then we asked for the inspection. They came with measuring the ceiling, the height of the ceiling.
Right.
But not asking for the quality system and quality control.
Right.
So we saw that.
So they didn't even know how to measure, like they didn't even know how to regulate it.
You know, that was very good.
Yeah.
But the system was not there. The policy was not
Right.
there now. So
Right.
then we asked them to open up. So absolutely, the institution was very, very open.
Right.
And then we contributed with our expertise, but also with our support from abroad, to start making the policies, you know. And
Right.
then we contributed on the production law, pharmaceutical production law, which is one of the best now in the region.
Yeah.
Then it was a GMP that most of the people here are just hearing about the standard of GMP, you know, good manufacturing practice.
Right.
We wanted to tell everybody that this is a standard that we need to create in Kosovo also. They said, no, somebody else need to come and to give you a GMP.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I can go somewhere else, but I need to start with my country, you know, because they will ask you, are you certified in the country of origin, you know? So then we supported the system. The people in the institution were very, very open.
Yep.
And then we created the first GMP of Kosovo.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first country in the region that had GMP.
Yep.
And then CPP, which is Certificate of Pharmaceutical Products,
Mm-hmm.
which is like ID card of the product. You know, you cannot export the product without a CPP certificate.
Right.
You know, so that all this policy we have together with a lot of support from institution, we have contributed to with our initiative, because nobody before was asking for it. You know,
Right.
So then we started with export. with all the standards and applying to other countries like Albania, like Macedonia, like other countries, the application, because when you apply to one regulatory agency like FDA or like EMA, they will ask you, give me this, and so you need to have from the country, which we have lost 10 or 12 years.
How much easier would it be now for somebody to come and start another pharmaceutical company? You're the only one here, right now. Correct?
Like sometimes I'm jealous.
Yeah, that's right. And how easy
because I made a very, very good road for everybody. But I wish to see a new initiative. Hope that we will have in the future. Because the Kosovo, I can say that is one of the easiest country on that region to build the pharma company after all this effort that we did, because we have now expertise. But it doesn't, it doesn't mean that all these people that started are still working here. So they are in the field now.
Sure.
So you can find good people now on the field that has experience from us. Then you have good policies, and when you go to the institution, they will not be surprised that somebody is
You're doing what?
producing DARPA.
So, in any industry, things can go wrong. Pharmaceutical is no different. How do you maintain that culture of trust over time, right? Because building it is one thing, and then keeping it intact over a long period of time is something different. How do you think about that? How do you maintain that? Because I guess it goes down to quality, but it also comes down to the culture of the business and things. How do you think about maintaining that culture of trust and building on it?
You mentioned the airlines. It's the only example that you can take from pharma is airlines companies. But pharma is tougher.
Right.
You can imagine, because a mistake in the airlines. Mm-hmm. You do some damage, but in pharma it's huge, it's very big, So there is no second chance, You need it's the quality system that you build by each SOP, standard operation procedure, that people are grown with it, We start from the scratch of educating them, training them, and using them from the very simple position. Up to the toughest, So it's a quality system that keeps us alive and grows us, Because there is thousands of SOPs that you cannot pass, If there is a quality system that if you pass it, immediately there will be an alarm. There will be a deviation. There will be it's quite very well regulated. You can imagine, you can see in airplanes, there is a steward that tells you how to fix the belt, doesn't matter there is one passenger or there are thousands.
Right.
They have to do by procedure.
And it doesn't matter how many times you've heard it.
They have to do by procedure. Maybe people are laughing, somebody is not listening, but they are doing their job, There is a procedure written. The procedure that you cannot pass it,
Right.
There is a very, very strong quality system that keeps this trust and grow it, So that's what the industry is worldwide is doing, The failure are, it's very, very, very limited worldwide, especially in pharma,
We talked about some of the challenges. Kosovo, not necessarily a distribution hub, or logistics hub, I think in a lot of respects. Has that been a challenge for you to distribution and logistics and actually shipping the product?
Not at all. So it was very, very good position of Kosovo. Geographically, Kosovo, if you see from the app, is very good positions. So we have only 3 hours to the port, to the Duras port, to Albania, which now there is agreement that there is a dedicated terminal for Kosovo. And it's very very easy to move the things through the highway to the terminal and also airport. Because a lot of raw materials in pharma is coming by air. So we have only 5 minutes.
I was going to say, you can see that we're almost on the runway here.
So Kosovo is very good position for that, and we are exporting, to Africa, to Asia, to Europe. Everywhere is quite easy and convenient. So and the prices are very, very competitive.
Yep. So you're actually shipping the pharmaceuticals all over the world. It's not, they're not just distributed here in the Balkan region. They're going everywhere.
Balkan is maybe 50% of our production still.
Yep.
Capacities of the company are built, let's say around 80% to export, let's say Europe, US, or Africa, Asia, you know.
Yep.
For the moment, we are manufacturing a lot for different companies.
Yep.
You know, Pharma is made like a lot of private labels, contract manufacturing. So we are doing manufacturing for other brands like UK brand. They are selling to Africa, to Asia.
Yep.
Regional company that are contracting us for manufacturing our product in their labels. So they are exporting also to, let's say, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Armenia, a lot of countries, Iraq.
Yep.
You know, we are exporting to Libya with our black region, and some other countries. Yeah, around 7 countries.
But that's great. When you think about the future of Kosovo, well, I'm back here in 5 years, right? What am I going to see happening in Kosovo at that point?
You know, I'm sure that everybody not coming often, they're seeing a very huge differences.
Yeah.
And huge development. You know, it's comparing to the region, we have passed a lot of countries. You know, if we see us 20 years ago, we were like Africa for the region.
Right.
Today, but if you see today, you will see that we are far from some countries, and I'm sure that Kosovo is developing good, but we have to potential to develop even double what we are doing now.
Yep.
With a little, with maybe if the government is not mixing at all and letting us do our job as we know, you know, as an entrepreneur, you know. But it will take some time, but Kosovo is moving good.
Yep.
You know, and we are developing very, very good. After 5 years, I'm sure that maybe we'll be part of EU, part of European Union, and part of a lot of our international organization.